Have you ever felt like you're carrying a heavy backpack everywhere you go? It's filled with old memories, past mistakes, regrets, and worries about the future. We cling to it because we think if we hold on tightly enough, we'll somehow protect ourselves, protect our hearts from getting hurt again, protect our identity, or keep control over the unpredictable twists of life. But here's the paradox. The tighter we hold on, the heavier it gets. The more we cling, the more we suffer. Letting go, just two simple words, but one of the hardest things we'll ever learn to do. On the surface, it sounds easy, almost like a casual suggestion you'd hear from a friend. Just let it go, don't worry about it. But deep down, we all know it's far from simple. Because letting go isn't about giving up. It's not about surrendering your dreams or pretending you don't care. It's about releasing yourself from the emotional chains that keep you stuck, those invisible ties to people, to outcomes, to who you used to be. In Eastern philosophy, there's a beautiful concept often described as emptying the cup. Imagine you're holding a cup already full of old beliefs, resentments, and expectations. No matter how much new joy or new wisdom you try to pour in, there's simply no space. Letting go means emptying that cup, creating room for something new, space for peace, for growth, for freedom. We often mistake holding on for strength. We think if we just keep pushing, keep fighting, we'll eventually force life to bend to our will. But true strength isn't about resisting the flow. It's about learning to flow with it. Like a bamboo bending in the wind, flexible yet deeply rooted, unbreakable precisely because it can move. Ask yourself, what am I holding on to that no longer serves me? Which memories or fears keep replaying in my mind like an old movie I've already watched too many times? What would happen if I finally set them free? When we let go, we aren't losing control. We're gaining it, the real kind of control that comes from within. The power to choose peace over chaos, presence over anxiety, and inner freedom over external attachments. Imagine standing on the edge of a serene lake at dawn. The water is still. The air is calm. In that moment, you don't need to hold on to anything. You're simply there, whole, enough, at peace. That is the essence of letting go. In this episode, we're going to explore this journey together. We'll dive into why we cling so tightly, what keeps us stuck, and most importantly, how to finally release these invisible weights so you can live lighter, freer, and with a deeper sense of purpose. If you've ever felt like you're carrying too much, that life feels heavy on your shoulders, or that your heart longs for more peace and space, then this is for you. Stay with me. Let's walk this path of release and renewal together, because sometimes, to truly move forward, we have to learn to let go. Lesson 1. Unlocking the power of detachment. Have you ever felt like your happiness depends on everything going exactly the way you want it to? On that person replying to your message, on your boss praising you, on that deal going through, on everyone approving of your choices? We often believe that if we just hold on tightly enough, if we keep controlling, keep pushing, we can keep everything and everyone just the way we need them to be. We can protect ourselves from disappointment, from loss, from pain. But here's the deeper truth. The more we cling, the more fragile we become. The more tightly we grip, the more easily life slips through our fingers. A lot of people misunderstand detachment. They think it means being cold, indifferent, uncaring, like shutting off your heart and walking through life as a stone. But true detachment isn't about loving less or not caring at all. It's about caring deeply, but not being owned by the outcome. Think of detachment as standing in the middle of a storm, feeling the wind on your face, watching the rain fall around you, but staying centered, grounded, unshaken inside. It's a quiet strength. Why do we cling so hard? Because deep down, we're afraid of losing someone we love, afraid of losing our status or our identity, afraid of not being good enough without those external validations. We start believing that without that relationship, without that job, without that perfect version of ourselves, we are nothing. But here's the paradox. The tighter we hold on to people or things, the more power they have over us. Our mood swings based on whether someone likes us today or ignores us tomorrow. We feel like we're riding an emotional roller coaster we can't get off. Imagine you're holding a handful of sand. If you hold it gently, it rests softly in your palm. But if you squeeze it tightly, it slips through your fingers, leaving you with nothing but frustration. This is exactly what happens with life. The more we cling, the more we lose. In Eastern philosophy, there's a beautiful teaching about holding life like an open palm. It doesn't mean you stop caring or stop loving. It means you stop trying to possess. You stop thinking, this is mine. It can't change. It must stay forever. You simply experience, appreciate, and let it flow. Detachment is a deep act of love for yourself and for others. Because when you're attached, you're not loving someone as they are. You're loving them as a concept, as a source of security for yourself. When you detach, you give them the freedom to be, and you give yourself the freedom to be at peace, no matter what happens. So how do we start practicing this? It starts with awareness. Ask yourself, what am I clinging to right now? What thoughts or people or outcomes am I tying my happiness to? Where in my life am I gripping so tightly that I've lost my inner calm? It could be a relationship where you feel you must always make the other person happy, otherwise you're worthless. It could be your job, where every success or failure feels like it defines your entire worth. Or it might be a version of yourself you think you need to maintain to be accepted by the world. Once you see it clearly, you've already taken the first step toward freedom. The next step is acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean resignation or passivity. It means recognizing that there are things you can't control, other people's choices, the past, the future. When you accept that you can't control everything, you stop wasting your energy fighting impossible battles. One practical mantra I love to use is, I choose to let go of what I cannot control. You can repeat this in your mind whenever you feel the urge to grab, to force, to obsess. Let's say someone close to you suddenly becomes distant. Instead of endlessly analyzing every word they said, replaying every moment, and blaming yourself, take a breath. Remind yourself, I can love them, but I can't control their feelings or their path. You can care deeply without losing yourself in their emotions. Or imagine at work, you poured your heart into a project, and it didn't get the recognition you hoped for. Instead of spiraling into self-doubt or resentment, ask yourself, did I show up fully? Did I act with integrity? If the answer is yes, then that's enough. The rest is beyond your control. Detachment also means setting healthy boundaries. It's about saying no when you need to protect your energy. It's about stepping back when a situation starts to consume your peace. When you cling to every demand, every expectation, you scatter your spirit in 1,000 directions, but when you set boundaries, you reclaim your wholeness. Here's a small, daily practice. Every evening, take 5 minutes. Sit quietly. Ask yourself, what today did I try to control that was never mine to control? What can I release right now to sleep more peacefully tonight? Then imagine yourself opening your hand and letting go, like leaves floating down a stream. Feel the relief, the lightness. Detachment isn't a one-time decision. It's a practice, a muscle you build over time. Some days you'll feel strong and spacious. Other days, you'll fall back into old patterns of gripping and needing. That's okay. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is progress, awareness, and kindness toward yourself. When you truly embody detachment, you begin to feel a profound shift. You stop riding emotional waves based on other people's actions or external results. You start to feel an inner steadiness, a gentle, quiet strength. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic emperor, once said, "You have power over your mind. not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This is the essence of detachment. It's not about changing the world to fit your desires. It's about changing how you meet the world with calm and grace. Can you imagine waking up tomorrow and feeling peaceful regardless of what your inbox looks like? Regardless of whether people approve of you or not? Regardless of whether everything goes as planned? That's the freedom detachment offers. Detachment frees you to enjoy life more fully. You become more present because you're not constantly worrying about what might go wrong or clinging to what might slip away. You're here, fully alive in this moment. It's like sitting by the ocean. You can't control the waves. You can't stop the tide. But you can learn to breathe with it, to admire it, to flow with it. Life becomes less about control and more about trust. Trusting in your ability to navigate, to adapt, to remain true to yourself no matter what. As we continue this journey together in this video, I invite you to reflect on this question. What would my life feel like if I stopped gripping so tightly? What new energy, opportunities, or connections could flow into your life if you created that space? Detachment isn't the end of love or ambition. It's the beginning of unconditional love, true freedom, and authentic peace. It's a gift you give yourself, the gift of coming home to your own calm center, no matter what storms rage outside. So today, can you take one small step? Maybe it's repeating that mantra. Maybe it's saying no to something that drains you. Maybe it's simply breathing deeply and letting your shoulders drop, even for a moment. Whatever it is, know that you're not alone on this path. We're here walking together, each of us learning to loosen our grip, to open our hands, and to trust that life, in its own mysterious and beautiful way, will unfold exactly as it should. Lesson 2. Stepping back for mental clarity. Have you ever had a moment where everything felt like it was happening all at once? Your phone is buzzing, someone is calling your name, your mind is replaying that awkward conversation from yesterday, and in the background, your to-do list is screaming at you like a relentless alarm clock. In these moments, our mind feels like a crowded room, voices overlapping, emotions clashing, and no space to hear our own true thoughts. It's in these exact moments that we're most likely to react impulsively, say something we don't mean, or make decisions that don't align with who we truly are. Have you noticed how easy it is to get caught up in the rush? When you're overwhelmed, even the smallest inconvenience can feel like a catastrophe. One rude comment can ruin your entire day. One unexpected change can send your whole world spiraling. But here's a gentle truth. Clarity rarely lives in chaos. When your mind is clouded with noise and urgency, it's almost impossible to see the bigger picture. Imagine an artist standing just inches away from their painting. All they see are messy brush strokes, harsh lines, and random patches of color. It's frustrating. But when they take a few steps back, they suddenly see the entire composition, the harmony, the story, the hidden beauty. Life is just like that canvas. Sometimes the only way to understand what's really happening is to step back. Stepping back isn't about running away or avoiding problems. It's about creating space between your emotions and your actions. It's a conscious pause that allows your heart and mind to catch up before you leap forward. There's a beautiful Eastern saying, "When the water is muddy, let it settle. Only then can you see clearly." Your mind works the same way. If you keep stirring it with constant reactions and rushed decisions, the mud never settles and you never find clarity. So, how can we practice stepping back in real life? One simple but powerful method is what I call the pause technique. The next time you feel triggered, take a moment. Literally stop. Count to 10 slowly. Take a deep breath and feel it fill your lungs. As you exhale, imagine releasing the tension and mental noise. In those few seconds, ask yourself, what is the best response here? What would my wisest self do in this moment? Not the fastest, not the easiest, but the most aligned with who you truly want to be. Another powerful practice is perspective journaling. When you're overwhelmed by a situation, take out a notebook and write as if you're giving advice to a dear friend. Imagine your best friend is in exactly the same situation. What would you tell them? This simple shift pulls you out of your emotional tunnel vision and helps you see things from a clearer, more compassionate angle. Let me share a personal story. A few years ago, I faced a big decision about leaving a secure job to follow my passion. In the moment, my mind was in chaos. What if I fail? What will people think? Am I making a huge mistake? I felt paralyzed, jumping back and forth between fear and excitement. One evening, I decided to step back. I went for a long walk under the night sky. No music, no phone, just me and my thoughts. The quiet rhythm of my steps began to slow my mind. I started to hear the deeper voice beneath the noise, a gentle whisper saying, "This is the path you've always longed for. Trust it." That simple act of stepping back gave me the clarity and courage I needed. When you step back, you create a sacred space where your true wisdom can speak. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. By stepping back, you reclaim that power. You stop letting the chaos of the outside world dictate the peace of your inner world." And here's something important. Not every situation requires an immediate reaction. Sometimes the strongest, most courageous thing you can do is wait. Wait for your mind to settle, for your emotions to calm, for your perspective to expand. In that space, you often discover that what seemed urgent wasn't truly important. You realize that some battles don't need to be fought, some words don't need to be said, and some paths don't need to be forced. Let's practice this together. Right now, wherever you are, take a deep breath. Feel the air enter your body, feel your shoulders soften, let your jaw relax. Ask yourself, what situation in my life right now would benefit from me stepping back? Where am I reacting instead of responding? Just by asking, you've already started creating space. You don't have to fix everything today. You don't have to control every outcome. Your worth isn't measured by your productivity or by how fast you solve every problem. Sometimes, the greatest wisdom is in pausing, observing, and waiting for the right moment to act, like a bamboo bending in the wind rather than breaking, flowing rather than resisting. Imagine if you approached your challenges like a wise old monk sitting by a quiet river, watching the water flow, understanding that it doesn't need to be forced or controlled. This is the power of stepping back. It's not a weakness. It's not an escape. It's a deliberate choice. A choice to value clarity over chaos, wisdom over impulse, and long-term peace over temporary satisfaction. As you continue your journey of letting go, remember that stepping back is one of your greatest tools. It reconnects you to your true self, helps you make decisions that reflect your deepest values, and allows you to move through life with more grace and less regret. So, the next time you feel overwhelmed by work, by relationships, by the endless noise of life, remember, you can always step back. You can always choose a moment of stillness. In that stillness, you will find clarity, and in that clarity, you will find your true strength. Thank you for being here with me on this journey. Take one more deep breath right now. Feel the difference. Carry that sense of spaciousness with you today and watch how it transforms not only your mind, but your entire experience of life. Lesson 3. Deciding when to distance yourself. Have you ever found yourself holding on to a relationship, a job, or a habit long after it stopped serving you? Maybe you felt it in your gut, that tightness in your chest, that subtle voice whispering, something isn't right. But still, you stayed. You stayed because you thought you were supposed to. You stayed because you didn't want to hurt anyone. You stayed because the idea of leaving felt terrifying. This is one of the hardest truths to face in life. Sometimes, the most loving, most courageous thing you can do is to create distance. We often think that loyalty means staying no matter what, that strength means enduring endless pain. But there's a difference between commitment and self-abandonment. Ask yourself, is this relationship, this job, this situation helping me grow, or is it holding me back? Am I becoming more alive, more authentic, more at peace? Or am I constantly shrinking, second-guessing, and feeling drained? It's important to remember, not every discomfort is a sign to leave. Growth is often uncomfortable, like muscles burning during a workout, or a seed breaking open underground before it sprouts. Temporary discomfort can lead to transformation. But when the discomfort becomes a constant shadow, when negativity, anxiety, or feelings of worthlessness become your daily companions, that's when it's time to ask deeper questions. So many of us stay in draining situations because of guilt. We think, if I leave, they'll be lost. If I set a boundary, I'm selfish. If I choose my peace, I'm betraying them. But is it truly kindness if you are slowly dissolving inside? Imagine a tree that keeps giving its shade, its fruit, its branches, even as it slowly dies inside. True generosity does not require self-destruction. When you continue in a relationship or situation that depletes you, you're not really helping anyone. You're simply delaying the inevitable while sacrificing your own well-being. There's a deep wisdom in the old saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't support others when your spirit is exhausted. Sometimes, creating distance isn't about cutting someone off or burning bridges. It's about stepping back enough to see clearly. Like climbing a hill to look at the entire landscape, distance gives perspective. You start to see which paths are aligned with your values and which are taking you further away from your true self. Here's a practical approach I call a trial separation. If you're unsure whether it's time to distance yourself, give yourself a set period, maybe 2 weeks, where you intentionally step back. Spend less time engaging with that person or situation. Reduce communication, lower emotional investment. During this time, pay close attention to how you feel. Do you feel relief? Do you feel more grounded and alive? Or do you genuinely miss the connection and realize its value? This is not about impulsive decisions. It's about conscious exploration. Imagine it like stepping out into a quiet forest after being in a crowded, noisy city. In the silence, you hear your own breath again. Your heart settles. Your mind clears. After this trial period, reflect. Am I staying because I truly want to, or because I'm afraid of the consequences if I leave? Am I driven by love and authenticity, or by obligation and fear? Fear often keeps us stuck more than any external obstacle ever could. We fear loneliness. We fear judgment. We fear the unknown. But what if the unknown holds the peace and freedom you've been longing for? I once had a friend who stayed in a job that drained him for years. He was constantly stressed, sick, and disconnected from his family. But every time we talked, he said, I can't leave. People will think I'm a failure. What will I do next? Finally, after a period of quiet reflection, a kind of personal trial separation, he realized he had been choosing suffering to please a society that didn't even notice his pain. When he finally left, he didn't have a perfect plan, but he rediscovered his health, his creativity, his joy. Sometimes the bravest step isn't knowing exactly where you'll land. It's having the courage to leap away from what is slowly killing your spirit. There's a saying in Zen philosophy, let go or be dragged. When you cling to what no longer serves you, you're not standing still. You're being pulled deeper into pain. Choosing to create distance is an act of self-respect, not selfishness. When you honor your boundaries, you're teaching the world how to love and respect you too. Some people worry, but isn't distance cold? Doesn't it mean I don't care? Number. In fact, distance can be the most compassionate choice. By stepping back, you allow space for growth, for both you and the other person. You stop enabling unhealthy patterns. You stop feeding dynamics that keep both parties small. It's also important to remember that creating distance doesn't always mean a permanent goodbye. Sometimes, it's simply a chance to recalibrate the relationship, to redefine what works and what doesn't, to create a new foundation built on mutual respect rather than silent resentment. If you decide to communicate about your distance, do it with honesty and kindness. You might say, "I care about you deeply, but I need some space to reconnect with myself." Or, "I value our connection, but I've realized I need time apart to reflect on what's best for both of us." You don't owe anyone a dramatic explanation. Quiet honesty is enough. And if you choose to do it quietly, by simply reducing your energy and presence, that's valid too. Every situation is different. You know your context better than anyone else. Here's a small exercise you can try today. Take out a piece of paper and draw 2 columns. In the first column, write down the benefits of staying in this relationship or situation. In the second column, write the benefits of creating distance. Then ask, which column reflects my truth more deeply? If the decision scares you, that's okay. Change is always scary. But what's scarier? Temporary discomfort or a lifetime of silent suffering? As you reflect, remember, life is precious and short. You weren't born to stay stuck in spaces that make you smaller. You're here to grow, to breathe deeply, to love freely, and to experience life with an open, courageous heart. So today, I invite you to ask yourself, where in my life am I staying out of fear rather than love? What would it feel like to step back even just a little and give myself space to heal and breathe? This journey isn't about rejecting people or burning bridges. It's about coming home to yourself. It's about honoring your own boundaries and your own sacred energy. And sometimes, it's about discovering that distance doesn't diminish love. It refines it. True connection is never threatened by space. If it's real, it will hold. If it's not, it will fade, making space for something more true to find you. You are not here to carry the weight of every relationship, every expectation, every demand placed on your shoulders. You are here to learn, to evolve, to choose peace over pleasing, and to walk your path with authenticity and courage. Thank you for having the courage to reflect on this with me today. Take a deep breath. Feel the possibility of lightness and freedom waiting for you just beyond the fear. And remember, you're not alone on this path. We're walking it together, step by gentle step, learning to trust that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for others is to create space, so that both you and those around you can grow into who you were always meant to be. Lesson 4. Building trust through meaningful conversations. Have you ever had a conversation that left you feeling lighter, seen, and deeply understood? As if someone truly looked into your heart and said, "I see you, and you're not alone"? In today's world, we're surrounded by noise. We have endless small talk, quick text messages, emojis, likes, and surface-level exchanges. But how often do we pause and really, truly connect? We might have hundreds of online friends, yet feel like no one really knows us. We might talk all day, yet never say what we really feel. This is why meaningful conversations are so important. They aren't just about words, they're about presence, trust, and vulnerability. When you open yourself to a genuine conversation, you're not just sharing your thoughts. You're opening a sacred door into your inner world. And when someone listens without judgment, without immediately trying to fix you or give advice, a powerful kind of trust begins to grow. The ancient Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that conversations weren't meant just to pass time or impress others with cleverness. Conversations were a tool for growth, a mirror that reflects our strengths, our blind spots, and our humanity. Seneca once said, "Associate with people who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." In other words, Surround yourself with people who challenge you to grow, and be that person for others too. But here's something many of us forget. When someone opens up to you, they usually don't want an immediate solution. They don't want you to fix their life in 2 sentences or judge their choices. They want to be heard. They want to feel safe enough to share the unfiltered truth inside them. Imagine a friend coming to you, overwhelmed by life. Instead of saying, "Don't worry, just think positive," or "Here's what you should do," what if you simply said, "I hear you. That sounds really hard. I'm here for you." Those simple words can feel like a warm blanket on a cold night. They tell the other person, "You're safe here. You can lay down your armor." There's a powerful Eastern wisdom that says, to listen is to give silent respect to another's soul. It's not about waiting for your turn to speak. It's about being fully present, not just with your ears, but with your heart. Think of the last time you truly felt heard. How did it feel? Probably like a weight was lifted from your shoulders, like you could finally breathe. Now, think of the last time you tried to open up, but someone interrupted you with quick fixes or turned the focus back to themselves. How did that feel? Most likely, you shut down a little. You felt unseen, maybe even a bit lonelier. Building trust through meaningful conversations isn't complicated, but it requires intention. Start by choosing the right people. Who in your life do you feel safe with? Who makes you feel seen and valued? Then invite them into deeper dialogue. You might say, "I've been feeling a bit lost lately, and I really value your perspective. Could we talk?" Or simply, "I don't need advice right now. I just need someone to listen." Equally important is practicing this when others come to you. Resist the urge to jump in with solutions. Instead, offer your presence. Nod. Maintain eye contact. Let there be pauses. Those gentle silences often carry more healing than any words. This kind of listening is a gift. It's like sitting by a friend's side in the dark, holding a lantern, but not forcing them to move before they're ready. A practical exercise. Next time someone shares something vulnerable with you, try repeating back what you hear. For example, "It sounds like you're feeling really overwhelmed with work and unsure how to balance everything. Did I get that right?" This simple act shows that you're not just hearing their words, you're understanding their feelings. Trust is not built overnight. It's a slow, gentle weaving of shared moments, safe spaces, and non-judgmental presence. Like a tree growing strong roots underground before its branches reach for the sky, true trust grows quietly and steadily beneath the surface. When we cultivate this kind of connection, we create relationships that don't just survive, they thrive. We create spaces where both people feel free to be their messy, beautiful, authentic selves. And here's the beautiful paradox. The more deeply we listen to others, the more deeply we start to listen to ourselves. As we hold space for someone else's pain, we learn to hold space for our own. As we learn not to judge others' vulnerabilities, we become softer and more compassionate with our own struggles. Imagine a world where every conversation felt like a gentle invitation to be more human. A world where we showed up not to prove, fix, or compete, but to support, understand, and grow together. Ask yourself, when was the last time I truly listened without preparing my next response? Who in my life do I trust enough to share my raw, unpolished feelings with? Am I offering others the same kind of safe space I crave for myself? These questions aren't meant to judge you. They're meant to guide you back to what really matters: connection. You don't have to be perfect at this. None of us are. But every time you choose presence over distraction, empathy over solutions, curiosity over judgment, you're taking a powerful step toward building trust. In this fast-paced, always-on world, genuine conversations are like an oasis in the desert. They remind us that beyond all the noise and striving, what we really want is to be seen, understood, and loved as we are. So today, I invite you to try this. Reach out to someone you trust. Ask them how they're really doing, and listen. Not to respond, not to fix, but to witness. And if you're the one needing to share, take the brave step to open up. Find your safe person, your lantern holder, and say, "Can we talk? I just need you to hear me." In these small moments, brick by brick, we build the bridges that connect us. We create a world where trust isn't just a word. It's a living, breathing experience that nourishes our souls. Thank you for showing up today, for yourself and for the people you love. May you find the courage to speak your truth, the patience to listen deeply, and the grace to hold space for both your light and your shadows. Because in the end, meaningful conversations don't just build trust, they build the foundation for a more compassionate, connected, and authentic life. Lesson 5: Mastering Emotional Boundaries. Have you ever felt completely drained after spending time with someone, as if you carried their pain, their stress, and their anxiety home with you? You might have walked away wondering, why do I feel so heavy when it wasn't even my problem to begin with? This is the quiet cost of blurred emotional boundaries. When we don't know where we end and someone else begins, we absorb everything: their fears, their sadness, their anger. Over time, this doesn't just drain our energy. It can make us forget who we really are. Many of us grew up believing that to be a good friend, partner, or family member, we must always be there for others, no matter what. We think that to love deeply means to carry everyone else's weight on our own shoulders. But here's the truth. Holding space for someone and carrying their emotional baggage are two very different things. Imagine you're standing in a rainstorm with a friend. You can hold an umbrella over them. You can sit next to them while they cry. But if you take off your own coat and lie down in the puddle to soak up their rain, you're not helping. You're both just getting wetter. Mastering emotional boundaries isn't about shutting people out. It's about learning to protect your inner peace while still being compassionate and supportive. Boundaries are not walls. They are bridges that allow love and understanding to flow without flooding your heart. Think of a healthy boundary, like a garden fence. It doesn't keep out the sunlight or the fresh air. It simply protects what you're nurturing inside. It says, "I care for you, but I must also care for myself." When you don't have clear emotional boundaries, you may notice signs. You feel responsible for fixing everyone's problems. You feel guilty when you say no. You get easily overwhelmed by other people's emotions. You lose touch with your own needs and feelings. If any of this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Learning to set emotional boundaries is a practice, a journey of unlearning old habits and building new, healthier ones. One powerful step is clear communication. If a friend constantly calls you late at night to vent, and you find yourself exhausted the next day, it's okay to say, "I care about you and I want to support you, but I also need to take care of my rest. Can we talk earlier in the evening instead?" This isn't selfish. This is self-respect. Another tool is visualization. When you're in a situation where emotions are running high, imagine a gentle, transparent bubble surrounding you. This bubble allows compassion to flow out, but keeps you from absorbing unnecessary pain. It may sound simple, even silly, but these mental images can powerfully train your mind to separate what's mine from what's theirs. You can also use a mantra. I love repeating, "I care, but I do not carry." These words remind me that I can offer empathy without sacrificing my peace. It might feel uncomfortable at first. If you're used to merging with others' emotions, setting a boundary can feel like you're abandoning them. But consider this. When you are constantly overwhelmed, you can't show up fully for anyone, including yourself. A burned-out heart has no warmth left to give. In Eastern wisdom, there's a saying, "A candle loses nothing by lighting another candle." But what if your candle is already flickering? Protecting your flame allows you to continue sharing your light without going out. Ask yourself, when was the last time I felt emotionally drained after helping someone? Am I offering support because I truly want to, or because I feel obligated? What would it look like to support others while still honoring my own needs? I once had a close friend who was going through a really tough season: heartbreak, family struggles, work stress, all at once. Every time we met, he poured everything on me. I would leave feeling heavy, anxious, sometimes even resentful. At first, I thought, I have to be strong for him, I can't say no. But over time, I realized I was losing my own center. When I finally expressed my need for balance, he didn't reject me. In fact, it deepened our friendship. He learned to seek multiple sources of support, and I learned to protect my peace without closing my heart. Healthy emotional boundaries actually strengthen relationships. They allow us to show up with genuine compassion rather than hidden resentment. They create relationships based on respect and understanding, not silent sacrifice. Another practice: after intense conversations, take time to come back home to yourself. Go for a walk, take deep breaths, journal, or simply sit quietly. This small ritual helps you release what isn't yours and reconnect with your own feelings. Remember, your emotional energy is precious. When you protect it, you have more to share. You can love more deeply, listen more fully, and live more authentically. So today, I invite you to reflect. Where in my life do I need stronger emotional boundaries? How can I lovingly communicate my needs to those I care about? What small step can I take today to protect my inner peace? You don't have to transform overnight. Start small. Maybe it's saying no to a draining conversation today. Maybe it's repeating your mantra when you feel pulled into someone else's storm. With each small act, you honor your well-being and teach others to do the same. Imagine a life where you can offer your kindness without losing yourself, where you can listen without absorbing, where your heart remains open but grounded, like a strong tree rooted deeply, offering shade without falling over in every wind. Thank you for being here, for exploring this with me today. As you move forward, remember, boundaries are not barriers to love. They are the sacred lines that protect the garden of your soul so that you can keep blooming. Breathe deeply, stand tall, care, but do not carry. Lesson 6: Weighing the outcomes of separation. Have you ever felt stuck in a relationship, a job, or a friendship that no longer feels right, but you just can't bring yourself to leave? Maybe a quiet voice inside whispers, "This isn't for you anymore," yet you stay. Why? Because choosing to separate, to let go, is one of the hardest decisions we can make. It asks us to face not just the loss of something familiar, but also the loss of the identity and comfort that came with it. When you consider separating from someone or something, it's not just about walking away. It's about facing a complex web of emotions: fear, sadness, guilt, and uncertainty. We worry about hurting others, about what people will think, about the what-ifs. But here's the truth. Staying somewhere you've outgrown doesn't protect you from pain. It only delays it. Sometimes, the longer you hold on, the more it drains your energy, your spirit, and your potential for growth. So how do we approach this decision with clarity and compassion? We start by deeply reflecting on the emotional impact. Ask yourself, how do I feel in this relationship or situation on a daily basis? Am I constantly stressed, anxious, or diminished? Or do I feel alive, respected, and inspired to grow? Emotional patterns don't lie. If negativity is your daily companion, it's a clear signal that something needs to change. Next, consider your long-term growth. Is this situation helping you become the person you want to be? Is it supporting your dreams, your health, your peace of mind? Or is it holding you in a loop of stagnation and self-doubt? Then, look honestly at the potential losses. Every separation comes with loss, emotional, social, or even financial. But ask yourself, is this loss worth the peace and clarity I will gain? Sometimes we fear the short-term discomfort so much that we ignore the long-term cost of staying. But think about it this way. A bird who refuses to leave a crumbling nest may feel safe in the moment, but it misses the entire sky waiting beyond. Remember, separation doesn't always have to mean a complete, abrupt break. Sometimes it can be gradual, like slowly stepping back, reducing time together, or redefining roles. This gentle distancing allows you and the other person to adjust with less shock and more grace. Here's a practical exercise to help you decide. Take a piece of paper and draw 2 columns. In the first column, list the benefits of staying. In the second, list the benefits of creating distance or leaving. Then ask yourself, which column feels more aligned with my deepest truth? Am I staying because I genuinely want to, or because I'm afraid of what happens if I don't? Fear is a powerful force. It whispers, "You'll be alone. You'll regret it. You're being ungrateful." But often, these are illusions, echoes of old stories that keep us small. When you listen closely, there's another voice beneath the fear, the quiet voice of your inner wisdom. It says, "You deserve to grow. You deserve to breathe freely. You deserve peace." I remember a friend who stayed in a long-term relationship far beyond its natural life. She stayed because she feared hurting her partner, feared starting over, feared loneliness. But over time, she became a shadow of herself, always tired, her light dimmed. When she finally chose to separate, it was messy and painful at first. But then, something incredible happened. She rediscovered her joy, her energy, her sense of purpose. She realized that the greatest kindness she could offer, to herself and her partner, was honesty and release. Separation is rarely a perfect solution. It's not about escaping discomfort or chasing a fantasy of endless happiness. It's about choosing the path that supports your highest growth and deepest peace. Ask yourself, what am I afraid of losing if I leave? What am I sacrificing by staying? Who might I become if I choose courage over comfort? If you decide that distance is needed, remember to approach it with compassion. You don't have to make grand announcements or cut ties dramatically. Often, a quiet, respectful shift is enough. Spend less time engaging, create more personal space, and allow the relationship or situation to evolve naturally. And if the other person deserves a conversation, speak with honesty and kindness. You might say, "I value our connection deeply, but I feel I need space to grow and reconnect with myself." This isn't about blame, it's about honoring your own path. In Eastern philosophy, there's a saying, when the flower doesn't bloom, we don't blame the flower, we adjust the environment. Sometimes, separation is about adjusting your environment so you can finally bloom. At the end of the day, you are the gardener of your life. Your energy, your time, your heart, these are precious resources. Tending to them isn't selfish. It's your sacred responsibility. Today, take a moment to reflect. Where in my life am I holding on too tightly out of fear? What would it feel like to gently release what no longer nourishes me? You don't have to make a decision today. This is not a call for rash action, but an invitation to deeper self-honesty. As you sit with these questions, notice what arises. Notice the relief, the grief, the hope. All of it is part of your unfolding truth. Imagine the freedom of stepping into a new chapter without the weight of what no longer fits. Imagine the quiet joy of waking up and feeling aligned with your choices, your values, your heart. It's not easy, but often, the most difficult paths lead us to the most beautiful places. The journey of separating, of creating space, is not about running away. It's about running toward your truest self. Thank you for having the courage to explore this with me today. Breathe deeply. Trust that whatever you choose, you are worthy of love, peace, and a life that feels true to you. And remember, when you weigh the outcomes of separation, you're not just making a choice about a situation, you're making a choice about who you want to become. May you choose the path that allows you to grow, to heal, and to shine in your full light. Lesson 7. Detoxing from social media. When was the last time you woke up, stretched your arms, and took a deep, grounding breath before reaching for your phone? If you're like most of us, your phone is the first thing you see in the morning and the last thing you touch at night. We swipe, scroll, and tap, sometimes without even realizing why. At first, social media feels harmless, like a window into the world, a place to connect, laugh, or learn. But slowly, quietly, it begins to shape how we see ourselves and how we move through our days. We start comparing our lives to carefully curated highlight reels. We measure our worth in likes, comments, and views. We chase constant stimulation, and when it's not there, we feel restless, almost like we've forgotten how to just be. Have you ever noticed how, after scrolling for a while, you feel more anxious rather than inspired? Or how you suddenly believe your life isn't exciting enough, your body isn't fit enough, your work isn't successful enough? This is no accident. Social media is designed to hook us, to keep us coming back for more dopamine hits, more tiny bursts of validation. But what does it cost us? Our attention, our presence, our peace. In Stoic philosophy, we're taught to focus only on what truly matters. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You must reclaim yourself for yourself." When we give our minds away to endless scrolling, we lose the chance to experience the small, quiet moments that make life rich and meaningful. So how do we begin to reclaim our focus and protect our peace? First, identify your triggers. Ask yourself, when do I reach for my phone without thinking? What feelings am I trying to escape? Boredom, loneliness, anxiety? Recognizing these triggers is the first step to breaking the automatic cycle. Next, set clear boundaries. Decide when and how you want to engage with social media, rather than letting it control you. For example, you might choose to check your accounts only once in the morning and once in the evening. Or maybe you give yourself a strict time limit, 30 minutes a day, no more. Imagine treating your mind like a beautiful garden. If you leave the gates open all day, weeds and pests flood in. But if you tend to it carefully, choosing what to plant, when to water, your mind stays vibrant and alive. Here's a powerful practice: a 24-hour social media detox. One full day, no scrolling, no posting, no checking. Use that day to reconnect with your life offline. Take a walk in your neighborhood. Notice the colors of the leaves, the feeling of the sun on your skin, the sound of birds. Call a friend and have a real conversation, one where you hear their laughter, not just see their stories. Cook a meal slowly and mindfully. Feel each chop, each stir, each aroma. At the end of the day, ask yourself, what did I miss, really? How did my mind feel without the constant noise? What moments of beauty did I almost overlook before? You might be surprised to find that you didn't miss as much as you feared. Instead, you gained something far more precious: presence. Social media can still be a beautiful tool. It helps us share our creativity, connect across the world, and find inspiration. But like any tool, it needs to be used with intention, not addiction. Ask yourself honestly, am I using social media or is it using me? Does my time online uplift me or does it drain me? These questions aren't meant to shame you, but to awaken you, to remind you that your attention is your most valuable currency. I remember a time when I felt constantly scattered. My mornings started with endless scrolling, comparing my progress to strangers online, feeling behind before the day had even begun. One weekend, I decided to try a full digital detox. The first few hours felt uncomfortable, like itching an invisible wound. But then something beautiful happened. I started to hear my own thoughts more clearly. I felt my breath slow down. I picked up an old book, went for a long walk, and realized how many small wonders I had been missing. It wasn't about cutting technology out of my life forever. It was about resetting my relationship with it. After that weekend, I became more mindful. I set time limits, unfollowed accounts that made me feel small, and chose to follow only those that inspired genuine growth and joy. Remember, you have the right to curate what enters your mind and heart. You get to choose what kind of energy you allow into your sacred inner space. Today, I invite you to reflect. Which accounts or content truly nourish me? What can I let go of to create more mental clarity and peace? What beautiful real-life moments are waiting for me beyond the screen? You don't have to disappear from social media entirely, but you can learn to engage in a way that serves you, rather than steals from you. Imagine waking up and spending your first hour in quiet, slow presence, rather than a flood of headlines and selfies. Imagine moving through your day rooted in your own rhythm, rather than the rhythm of algorithms. This is your life, your one precious, unrepeatable life. The more you can reclaim your attention, the more deeply you can inhabit each moment. So, today, or maybe this weekend, try that 24-hour detox. Let your mind breathe. Let your heart open. And when you come back online, come back with intention, with awareness, and with a renewed sense of what truly matters. Thank you for exploring this with me. May you find more space, more peace, and more of your own beautiful self beyond the screen. Lesson 8. Prioritizing your core needs. When was the last time you asked yourself, what do I truly need to feel alive, peaceful, and fulfilled? Not what others expect from you, not what society tells you to chase, but what your heart quietly longs for. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to confuse wants with needs. We think we need a new phone, a bigger house, or more followers to feel worthy. But beneath all those surface desires lies a softer, more essential truth: our core needs. Your core needs are like the roots of a tree. They anchor you, nourish you, and help you stand strong even when storms come. When these roots are ignored, the tree may look fine on the outside for a while, but inside, it's weakening, struggling to stay upright. So, what are these core needs? They're different for each of us, but they often include things like genuine connection with people who see and accept you, creative expression, that feeling of bringing something uniquely yours into the world, rest and stillness, moments when you can just be, without having to perform or produce, movement and care for your body, time in nature, feeling the wind, hearing the birds, touching the earth. When these needs are neglected, we begin to feel drained, disconnected, and restless. We might achieve external success, the promotion, the applause, the material rewards, but inside, a quiet voice keeps asking, "Is this it? Why do I still feel empty?" There's an old Eastern saying, "A full schedule is not the same as a full heart." We can pack our calendars, fill every moment with tasks and noise, yet feel profoundly unfulfilled. Think about a plant placed in a dark corner. You can water it, fertilize it, talk to it, but if it never gets sunlight, it will wither. Likewise, if we don't honor our essential needs, no amount of external watering can keep us thriving. So how do we begin to reconnect with these needs? Start by asking yourself, what activities or moments make me feel most alive and at peace? What drains me, no matter how much I try to force it to feel right? When do I feel most like my true self? A practical exercise I love. Take out a piece of paper and write down your top 5 core needs. These aren't goals or ambitions. They're the fundamental sources of your inner nourishment. For example, deep, honest conversations with loved ones, creating art, music, writing, anything that expresses your soul, regular quiet time to rest and reflect, moving your body, yoga, hiking, dancing, time in nature, away from screens and noise. Next to each one, write one small action you can take this week to honor it. Maybe it's setting aside an hour on Sunday to paint, or scheduling a walk in the park after work, or turning off your phone for an evening to enjoy undistracted family time. These don't have to be big, dramatic changes. Tiny steps, taken consistently, create powerful shifts. I once had a client who worked in a high-pressure corporate job. On paper, she had everything: big title, big paycheck, endless accolades. But inside, she felt numb and hollow. Through our conversations, she realized her core need was creative expression, something she had buried for years. She began dedicating just 30 minutes a week to play the piano again, something she loved as a child. Those small, quiet moments rekindled a light inside her. She described it as finally breathing after years underwater. Your needs aren't indulgences or luxuries. They are the sacred foundation of a meaningful, balanced life. When you prioritize them, everything else, your work, your relationships, your health, aligns more naturally. We often feel guilty for putting ourselves first. We think it's selfish to say no, to rest, or to step away. But ask yourself, how can I pour into others if my own cup is empty? Imagine you're a lantern lighting the way for others. If you don't take time to refill your oil, your flame will dim and eventually go out. By honoring your core needs, you keep your light strong and steady, for yourself and for those around you. There's a beautiful story in Zen about a monk who was always helping others. One day, he collapsed from exhaustion. His teacher said, "When you forget to care for yourself, you forget the first lesson of compassion. Compassion must start at home, within your own heart." Today, I invite you to take a gentle breath and reflect. What parts of me have I been neglecting? What small act of kindness can I offer myself today? What would my life feel like if I truly honored my core needs? You might discover that the peace you've been searching for was never in achieving more or proving yourself. It was always in coming back to what your soul quietly whispers it needs. This week, commit to just one small promise to yourself. Maybe it's an early night's sleep, a long bath, an afternoon with your favorite book, or a slow meal with someone you love. Start small, start today. Thank you for being here and exploring this with me. May you remember that you are worthy of the time, space, and care you so freely give to others. Your core needs are not a burden. They are a beautiful map back to your truest self. And when you live from that place, you don't just exist, you bloom. Lesson 9. Embracing gratitude and the present. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to focus on what's missing in your life? That promotion you didn't get, that relationship that didn't work out, that goal you haven't reached yet. Our minds are wired to look for problems. It's a survival instinct. But in the modern world, this instinct often turns into a restless craving for more success, more recognition, more things. And the irony is, the more we chase, the emptier we feel inside. What if, instead of constantly looking at what's missing, we started looking at what's already here? What if we shifted from a mindset of scarcity to one of appreciation, from "I'll be happy when" to "I am grateful now"? Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring pain or pretending life is perfect. It's not about slapping a smile on and saying, "Everything is fine," when it's not. True gratitude is about acknowledging life in its fullness, the joy and the struggles, and choosing to focus on the gifts, even when they're small. There's a beautiful Zen teaching that says, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. The point is, life doesn't become perfect or easy, but your relationship with the ordinary moments transforms. Imagine waking up in the morning, and instead of immediately checking your phone or worrying about your to-do list, you pause and take a deep breath. You feel the warmth of the blanket, the softness of the pillow, the gentle rhythm of your own heartbeat. In that moment, you realize, this is a gift. When we begin to cultivate gratitude, even the simplest things become extraordinary. A quiet cup of tea in the morning sun. A friend's unexpected message saying, "Thinking of you." The smell of rain on the sidewalk. These tiny moments are often overlooked, yet they hold the power to change your entire experience of life. So how do we start this practice? One simple way is to list 3 things you're grateful for each day. They don't have to be big. In fact, the smaller and more specific, the better. For example, I'm grateful for the way my dog greeted me at the door today. I'm grateful for the sweet, ripe peach I ate after lunch. I'm grateful for the quiet moment I had watching the sunset. When you do this consistently, you train your mind to look for beauty rather than lack. Slowly, you start to see life through a different lens, a softer, kinder one. Another powerful tool is mindfulness. Mindfulness isn't just about sitting cross-legged and meditating for an hour, though that's wonderful too. It's about bringing full attention to the present moment, whatever it holds. Try this. Next time you're eating, eat slowly. Notice the colors, the textures, the flavors dancing on your tongue. When you're walking, feel your feet touch the ground, hear the birds, see the sky. When you're talking to someone, really listen, not planning your reply, but fully present with them. These small acts ground you in the now. They remind you that life is not lived in yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's worries. It's happening here, in this breath, in this step, in this smile. I remember a time when I was so consumed with future goals that I barely noticed my daily life passing by. I kept thinking, I'll relax when I finish this project, or I'll enjoy life once I reach that milestone. But those milestones kept moving. The finish line kept shifting further away. One day during a walk, I stopped and watched a butterfly land on a flower. For a few seconds, everything else disappeared. I felt my breath slow down, my mind soften. I realized that this tiny moment, so ordinary, so quiet, held more peace than any achievement ever had. From that day, I began a simple gratitude practice. Each night, before bed, I'd write 3 things I was grateful for. Over time, I noticed my mind becoming calmer. My anxiety about the future eased. I started feeling more alive in the small, everyday moments. Gratitude is like a gentle bridge that brings you home to the present. It's a reminder that even if life isn't perfect, and it never truly is, there is always something to appreciate. Ask yourself, what am I grateful for today, right now? What small joys have I been overlooking? How can I bring more presence into my daily routine? Remember, gratitude and presence aren't destinations, they're practices. You don't arrive at being grateful forever. You cultivate it moment by moment, breath by breath. Today, I invite you to try this. When you wake up tomorrow morning, before you reach for your phone, place your hand on your heart. Take a slow breath and silently say, "Thank you. Thank you for this body that carries me. Thank you for another chance to experience this day. Thank you for the simple, quiet miracle of being alive." Then, throughout your day, look for small invitations to come back to the present. A sip of water, a shared laugh, the warmth of sunlight on your face. With each act of gratitude, you shift your focus from not enough to more than enough, from restless seeking to gentle being, from future anxieties to the simple, sacred now. Thank you for sharing this space with me today. May your days be filled with more presence, more small joys, and more gentle thank yous whispered to the universe. And may you remember, a grateful heart is a magnet for miracles, and the greatest miracle of all is this very moment. Lesson 10. Cultivating flexibility and adaptability. Life is unpredictable. We plan our days down to the hour, we set goals for the year, we map out our perfect future, and yet life has its own plans. A sudden storm cancels your trip. A job opportunity you thought was certain falls through. A relationship you believed would last forever begins to fade. And in these moments, when reality doesn't match our expectations, we often feel frustrated, anxious, or even hopeless. Why? Because most of us have been taught to hold on tightly, to our plans, to our identities, to how we think life should look. But what if, instead of fighting the current, we learned to flow with it? There's an old Eastern proverb that says, "The bamboo that bends is stronger than the oak that resists." In other words, flexibility isn't weakness. It's a quiet, resilient strength. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus taught us, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." We don't control the weather, the economy, or other people's choices, but we do control our responses, our mindset, our perspective, our energy. Imagine you're hiking up a mountain trail and suddenly a tree has fallen across your path. A rigid mind might say, "This is terrible. My whole plan is ruined." A flexible mind says, "Okay, what now? Can I climb over it, walk around it? Maybe this is an opportunity to explore a new path I wouldn't have discovered otherwise." Life invites us to become dancers rather than statues, to move, adjust, and pivot gracefully instead of standing frozen in disappointment. But how do we actually practice this flexibility in daily life? One simple framework I love is the 3A rule: accept, assess, adapt. First, accept. Accept that change is a constant companion. Accept that no matter how carefully you plan, life will surprise you. This isn't about giving up or becoming passive. It's about releasing resistance. When you stop fighting reality, you free up energy to respond creatively. Second, assess. Pause and honestly look at the new situation. What's really happening here? What options do I have? What is within my control and what isn't? This moment of assessment creates space for clarity. Instead of reacting out of fear or anger, you give yourself a moment to breathe and reflect. Third, adapt. Choose your next step based on your values and the reality in front of you, not on how you wish things were. Adaptation doesn't mean lowering your standards or abandoning your dreams. It means finding a new way forward, one that aligns with your deeper purpose while respecting the present moment. I remember a friend who trained for months to run a big marathon. On race day, a sudden injury forced him to stop halfway. At first, he was devastated. But instead of spiraling into self-pity, he chose to support other runners at the finish line, cheering them on. In that moment, he transformed loss into connection, frustration into purpose. His adaptability not only turned a disappointment into something meaningful, it also deepened his love for running and community. Ask yourself, where in my life am I holding on too tightly? What would it feel like to loosen my grip and trust the process more? How can I respond to change in a way that reflects my values and inner strength? There's a story in Zen about a young monk carrying a heavy bucket of water up a hill. Halfway, he trips and spills most of the water. Instead of getting angry, he looks at the water running down the path and says, "Ah, now the flowers below will have a drink today." That's adaptability, finding grace in unexpected outcomes. Think about the areas of your life that feel stuck right now. Is it a career path that no longer excites you? A relationship that needs to evolve? A personal goal that might need a new approach? Flexibility doesn't mean abandoning your dreams. It means allowing those dreams to breathe, to grow, to take new shapes as you grow too. The most beautiful trees bend and sway in strong winds, but remain deeply rooted. Likewise, you can learn to dance with life's unexpected twists while staying true to your essence. Today, I invite you to try this practice. When something doesn't go as planned, big or small, pause and walk yourself through the 3A rule. Accept, assess, adapt. See how this changes not just the outcome, but also your inner experience. Because ultimately, life is not a straight, predictable line. It's a winding river with unexpected bends and hidden waterfalls. When we learn to flow instead of fight, we discover hidden strengths, unexpected joys, and a deeper sense of peace. Thank you for exploring this with me today. May you move through your days with the quiet confidence of the bamboo, strong, grounded, and endlessly adaptable. And when the next surprise comes, because it will, May you greet it not with resistance, but with curiosity and an open heart. Lesson 11. Fostering empathy and generosity. When was the last time someone truly listened to you? Not just hearing your words, but really feeling what you were saying? Or the last time you offered kindness to someone, expecting nothing in return, and felt that quiet warmth spread through your heart? In a world obsessed with individual success and self-promotion, empathy and generosity can feel like lost arts. We're told to hustle harder, look out for number one, never let your guard down. But deep down, we all long for connection, to feel seen, understood, and valued beyond our achievements. Empathy is the bridge that connects two souls beyond words. It's the gentle art of stepping into another person's world, even for a moment, and saying, "I'm here. I see you. I feel you." Generosity is its twin flame. It's the act of giving without expecting, giving our time, our presence, our patience, or our kindness. It's not just about donating money or things. In fact, the most powerful gifts often can't be wrapped. Think of that friend who sits with you in silence when you're heartbroken, or the stranger who offers a genuine smile on a rough day, or the mentor who shares wisdom without asking for anything in return. These small, quiet acts of generosity have the power to ripple outward, changing lives in ways we might never fully see. The Stoics taught that what benefits the whole ultimately benefits the individual. When we lift others, we too rise. When we create a more compassionate world around us, we also create a safer, softer space within ourselves. But here's something many of us forget. Empathy starts with ourselves. We cannot truly understand or support others if we're constantly judging or criticizing our own hearts. Self-empathy, that gentle, forgiving relationship with yourself, is the foundation. When we learn to hold our own pain with kindness, we become better at holding space for others. So how do we actually nurture these qualities in daily life? It doesn't require grand gestures. It begins with small choices, tiny sparks of light in ordinary moments. Start with one act of empathy or generosity each day. It could be as simple as truly listening when a friend shares something vulnerable without interrupting or offering advice too quickly. Letting someone cut in line when they're clearly in a rush and sending them silent, well wishes. Checking in on a neighbor or colleague who seems down. Sending a handwritten note or message to someone just to say, "I appreciate you." These small acts don't drain us, they refill us. When you give sincerely, your heart expands. You begin to realize that generosity isn't a depletion, it's a source of deep energy and quiet joy. There's a story I love from Zen tradition about a monk who gave away his last piece of bread to a starving traveler. A student asked, "But master, what will you eat?" The monk smiled and said, "The joy of giving is my nourishment today." We don't have to go to such extremes. But that spirit, finding nourishment and purpose in giving, is something we can all carry. Ask yourself today, who in my life could use a moment of kindness right now? What can I offer today that doesn't cost money but might mean the world to someone else? How can I show up more fully, not just for myself, but for the people around me? And remember, generosity isn't only about giving outwards, it's also about receiving with grace. When someone offers you help, kindness, or love, accept it. Allow yourself to feel supported and connected. This exchange, this dance of giving and receiving, is what builds true, lasting connection. Sometimes we hold back generosity because we think, "I don't have enough to give." But we all have something. A kind word, a warm presence, a listening ear, a small piece of wisdom from your own journey. When we start to see these as valuable gifts, we move through life with more openness and less fear. So today, I invite you to practice one act of empathy or generosity. It doesn't have to be big or public. Let it be quiet and sincere. A moment of presence, a gentle touch, a simple, "I'm here for you." Then notice how it feels in your body, in your mind, in your heart. Notice the soft glow that lingers, that subtle sense of connection and purpose that no material success can replicate. In the end, the measure of a life well lived isn't how much we accumulate, but how deeply we love and how freely we give. Thank you for being here with me today. May you carry this spirit of empathy and generosity not just as a practice, but as a way of being, a quiet revolution in a world that needs it more than ever. Lesson 12. Nourishing your mind and body. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly listened to your body? Not just when it was in pain or when it demanded rest, but when it whispered softly, "I need movement," or "I need a moment of quiet." We live in a world that praises hustle. We push our bodies to the limit, run on caffeine and deadlines, and then wonder why we feel exhausted, anxious, or disconnected. But here's the simple truth. Your mind and body are deeply intertwined. When your body is neglected, your mind suffers. When your mind is cluttered and overwhelmed, your body carries that tension too. The Stoics understood this beautifully. Seneca once wrote, "A sound mind in a sound body." They believed that caring for your body wasn't vanity. It was a foundation for wisdom, clarity, and inner peace. Imagine your body as the vessel that carries your spirit through this life. If you don't maintain the vessel, with nourishing food, gentle movement, deep rest, your spirit won't have the strength or energy to truly shine. So how do we start? We don't need to overhaul our entire lifestyle overnight. It begins with small, consistent acts, quiet promises we keep to ourselves. Start with one action each day that nourishes your body. This might be taking a walk outside and feeling the sun on your face, stretching gently when you wake up, choosing a meal that truly fuels you rather than just fills you, drinking a big glass of water and feeling it refresh you from the inside out. And just as importantly, nurture your mind. Your mind is like a garden. If you don't tend to it, weeds of negativity, stress, and fear can quickly take over. Nourishing your mind might look like reading a few pages of a book that inspires you, taking 5 minutes to sit quietly and breathe deeply, journaling your thoughts to clear mental clutter, listening to music that makes your soul feel alive. Think of these practices as gentle anchors throughout your day, bringing you back to yourself again and again. I once worked with a woman who was a high-achieving executive. On the surface, she had it all: success, respect, a busy calendar. But inside, she felt deeply disconnected and constantly on edge. Through small steps, she began to reclaim her mornings: a slow cup of tea, 10 minutes of gentle yoga, and a short meditation before checking her phone. Over time, these moments didn't just change her mornings. They transformed her entire relationship with herself. She told me, "I didn't realize I had been running on autopilot for years. Now I finally feel like I'm actually living my life, not just moving through it." Ask yourself, what does my body truly need today? What can I do to nourish my mind, even if it's just for 5 minutes? These questions aren't meant to add more pressure or another item to your to-do list. They're invitations to come home to yourself. If you don't take care of your body, where will you live? If you don't take care of your mind, how will you navigate the world with clarity and calm? There's a beautiful story in Eastern philosophy about a wise old monk who carried a heavy bucket of water up the hill every day. When asked why he did it himself instead of asking his students, he smiled and said, "This is how I care for my body and my mind. My muscles grow strong, my breath deepens, and my spirit remains humble." We don't need to climb hills with buckets to find that harmony. But we can find small, meaningful ways each day to move, to breathe, to feed ourselves with love. Here's a simple practice for you to try today. Choose one small action to nourish your body. Maybe it's dancing to your favorite song, making a colorful salad, or simply going to bed a little earlier tonight. Then choose one small action to nourish your mind. Maybe it's lighting a candle and reading, or stepping outside to watch the sunset without distractions. Don't underestimate the power of these tiny rituals. When repeated consistently, they become the foundation of a stronger, calmer, and more joyful life. Today, I invite you to treat yourself with the same tenderness you would offer a dear friend or a beloved child. Your body and mind are not tools to be pushed endlessly. They're sacred partners on this journey. Thank you for being here with me today. May you find moments of stillness to hear what your body truly needs. May your mind feel light, clear, and open to the wonders around you. And may you remember, you are worthy of care, not because of what you do, but simply because you exist. Conclusion: letting go as a path to freedom. So, what if letting go isn't about giving up at all? What if it's actually about creating space for something better, something truer, something more deeply aligned with who you really are? We often think of letting go as a loss, but what if, instead of loss, we saw it as an invitation? An invitation to release the old stories, the heavy expectations, the outdated versions of ourselves, so that we can finally breathe freely. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with rocks. At first, you might not even notice the weight because you've gotten so used to it. But as you walk further, your shoulders ache, your steps slow down, and every small movement feels harder than it needs to be. Now imagine setting that backpack down. The immediate lightness, the new energy, the quiet relief. That is what letting go feels like. A quiet liberation, a coming home to yourself. When we let go, we find clarity. We begin to see what truly matters. We rediscover that beneath all the noise and striving, there is a deep well of peace waiting for us. Letting go is not a one-time act. It's an ongoing practice. It takes courage to loosen your grip on the familiar, even when it no longer serves you. It takes patience to watch old habits and attachments slowly dissolve. And it takes compassion, deep, unwavering compassion, for yourself as you navigate this tender, beautiful process. Ask yourself today, what am I holding on to that feels heavy? What would it feel like to finally put it down? What space would open up in my heart, my mind, my life if I let this go? Maybe it's a relationship that has run its course. Maybe it's a fear that keeps whispering, "You're not enough." Maybe it's an old dream that no longer lights you up, or a version of yourself you feel pressured to maintain. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care so deeply about your own growth and peace that you're willing to release what holds you back. Imagine your life as a garden. If you keep holding on to every withered leaf and dead branch, there will be no room for new flowers to bloom. Pruning away what no longer serves you isn't cruelty. It's an act of love. Every time you choose to let go, even in small ways, you reclaim a little more freedom. You step closer to living with intention rather than reaction. You learn to move through the world with more ease, more authenticity, and more joy. And remember, letting go is not about rushing to some imagined finish line. It's a gentle journey, a lifelong dance of noticing, releasing, and returning to what truly matters. So I invite you today, right now, to pause and ask yourself, what is one small thing I am ready to let go of today? It could be a tiny frustration, a self-critical thought, or a habitual worry. Start small. Each quiet act of release is like a ripple that expands into every corner of your life. Thank you for walking this path with me today. Thank you for your courage, your openness, and your willingness to explore what it means to truly live free. May you find the strength to let go with grace. May you discover the clarity and peace that have been waiting for you all along. And may you remember that in the space you create, new possibilities, new joys, and a new sense of self are patiently waiting to blossom. This isn't the end of the journey. It's the beginning of a new chapter, one that is lighter, truer, and more deeply yours. Take a deep breath and let it go.